Oh. Ah,
We're officially live.
we're
So,
live.
um, yeah, this is so I don't know about you, but when doing a live stream, especially like the first like minute or two as it's populating in social medias and all of that, it's always
Yeah.
like
Oh, yep. Then my phone just told me we just went live. Thanks, phone.
like
See, it takes like 30 seconds for anything to pop up. So it's always like, do I actually start the content now or do I just talk to myself?
yeah, and you're basically like, oh, here's a funny joke that only I find funny. So I always find that live streams, like the first minute is like the most awkward time. So yeah, we are officially alive.
We
We are
are.
preparing to launch the I Am the First Kickstarter, which the button is sitting there on the corner of my screen, just mocking me.
We're gonna hit the button. That's what's
I
gonna
know
happen.
we're gonna hit the button, and like, how nervous are you about this?
I keep on swinging back and forth between being nervous and being excited. So, yes, all of the nervous and also all the excited.
Which is kind of funny because, like, I'm like, yes, let's do it. I don't want to touch the button. It is actually sitting there mocking us at this very moment. I suppose I should actually go to the button to where, huh?
Yeah, you should go to where the button is. That might be good.
I suppose I should figure out how to actually launch it.
That might be good. Maybe we should have done that before this instant. But
Nah, why would we do that?
why?
Um,
Hey, thanks.
so,
Facebook user. I don't like how this shows up in StreamYard. I need to go over to Facebook.
oh yeah, so if they don't click
Face.
the registration button, it's super like user.
Yeah, it just says on StreamYard. It just says hello and congratulations from Facebook user. So I don't know who that is right now, but thank you.
Um, I love how it's like, here's all your target launch date and everything.
Now where's the on button?
Yeah, we got to find the on button.
On button.
Do. So do you want, we're going to launch it in just a minute.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what I Am the First is?
I will, because even though that should be your job, you're busy looking for the button.
She knows exactly what's happening. Like, we're not lying here.
I know what's going on. You can't find the button to turn it on. Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't been following along with any of the updates that we've done before now, I Am the First is a gay superhero origin story. It's mostly about what is it like being a gay teenager in a rural town and all a depressed rural town and all of the kind of issues that come along with that. And then also, oh crap, I have superpowers. Now what?
Yeah, the original. So when we very first started talking, this is one of those. Hey Amanda, wouldn't it be fun to work on a comic book together?
It would be fun to work on a comic together, Jeremy. What do you have for a comic story idea?
And the funny thing is this is shortly after I heard her go on a rant about how people always walk up to her and go, I have this idea for a comic book.
That is true.
And no one ever seems to quite realize that having an idea for a comic book is not actually having a comic book.
It's not. There's a lot more work after that.
And I had been writing for several years, like 10 years at this point. So like I understood the story side of things. And I thought, oh, well, this is going to be a piece of cake for the script. And then she kind of put me into boot camp pretty quick. Especially because the first idea that we had, or I had for this, was I wanted to do an illustrated version of my superhero series and do like a tie-in story because
right. Yes, I remember that. You were telling me about this tie-in story that you had, and it was fine. He explained it and everything. And then like he was also talking about, this is one of these times we're just hanging out and telling each other about all the different projects we have simmering on the back burner. And so then Jeremy also said something about like, oh, this other project that he was thinking of turning into like a novel, like a YA novel, and he was giving me the basic idea of it. And I was like, and when he was done telling me about the superhero tie-in story for the Children of Nostradamus universe, and I was like, yeah, okay, I like that, all right. But I liked your other story way better for a comic.
And it was kind of funny, because the original story was this YA superhero, and it worked, but my universe is very doom and gloom, and
Yeah.
it was kind of hard to make a YA story where like horrible things weren't happening to people. So I Am the First, which originally supposed to be a YA novel, and I plotted out I Am the First, which is the introduction of our characters, and then the sequel is I Am the Last, which is the legacy of these characters. And when I was pitching the idea, like you could tell, like Amanda, I think we were sitting in the hot tub while we were
Oh
going
yeah,
over
it's
this.
definitely a hot tub talk.
And she was like, whoa, 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 back up. What about this?
What about
And
that
so
one?
I started kind of delving into the story, and like I was actively excited about it. And she just looks at me and goes, that's the one. And
Yep.
it was just done. Like,
Done.
and so of course, if you don't know how comics work, instantly a comic appears out of nowhere, and it's like,
yeah, that's how
piece
that
of
works.
cake.
Sure.
And so
I was also looking for the button. I don't have access to the button because I'm
oh,
just a
I have the button
collaborator.
now.
You have it?
I
It's
have the
there?
button.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's not where it should be.
It's somewhere weird. Okay. I'm excited. But anyway,
And,
continue your story.
and so I had this rough plot, like a synopsis plot, basically. And she sent me a little bit about how things need to get done. And writing a novel, I can write a 90,000 word novel in a month, and it doesn't faze me. But I think they're like 10-page scripts
Yeah.
with like they're like theater scripts, because
Yeah, very similar to a theater script. A comic script is a lot like that. Yeah.
and what you quickly find out is some of your dialogue becomes redundant because you're going to see it existing. Some of the actions don't need to be explained. Some things just, and my first issue for this was so bad. Like it was rough. It didn't make a lot of sense. It was double dipping. And weirdly enough, one of my students sat down with me and was like, look, Mr. Flag, we need to fix some things. And I still have the paper copy that she drenched it in red ink.
I love it. I love it.
And when I say drenched, I haven't had an editor be so brutal and call me out. She's
That's
like,
amazing.
look, you work with teenagers, but you obviously don't understand teenagers. And I was like,
rude.
Okay. But it was true. And so I think the story resonated really well, because she is LGBT, and so she like even called out like, this gets a little loose, like you need to tighten this up. And it was great because she is the audience that this is for, and so it was just a really great experience, but it was also super humbling. So
right. That's good.
All
Are
right.
we ready? We got the button.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna be those obnoxious people.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, it's on the screen.
So our goal is in 30 days, $3,000. So I guess we're ready to push the button.
Do it.
Oh God, this is terrifying.
Before I have a coronary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. I read everything. Don't worry. I like how it says drum roll. All right.
It's
Project
there.
is currently live.
Oh my goodness.
All right, now I'm going to stop sharing the screen because I'm going to obnoxiously stare at it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we're that's gonna definitely be up on my other screen. If you see me looking
Yeah.
to the side, that's what's happening. But we also have to now obnoxiously like share it with everybody, and we're gonna obnoxiously ask anyone who's watching to also share it with everybody. And backing it would be nice too. We would appreciate that.
Um, of course, we're currently typing out to everyone who we've been talking to, and
Ah!
like it's there.
It's there. Go get it.
Eventually, we'll be famous enough where we can hire a henchman to run our tech.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I'd love that. I'd love to have like interns do stuff.
Yeah, just
Would it
Bob over
be
there in the corner. Click the button.
great? Yay, thanks for the champagne emoji, Rachel. I think we have Jeremy has coffee and I have tea, but
You can always tell that I'm the high strung one.
I there will be more coffee later most likely, but right now I have tea.
So yeah, this whole process, just a little bit of the background behind it. For those who don't know, like I've known Amanda since 1998.
Yep.
Like,
That
you
was a long
realize
time ago.
that is 22 years, 23 years.
23 years. Yes.
And so it's super. I always love telling the story because it's so weird.
It's very random.
My senior year of high school, I was taking a creative writing class with all the weird outcast students, and we yes, email notifications of going out.
Yeah.
So this was kind of my blow off class, the class that I was super excited for because I love writing. And after the first couple days, in walks this middle school student who is assigned to a senior level creative writing class.
I was in 7th grade at the time. So I was
And
like
so
13.
yeah, and I mean, I was
Just
the young one in the class at like
snot-nosed
17.
little brat showing up into this high school classroom full of seniors. Ah, thank you, Ben.
And thank you, Ben. And the best part to it was Josh Decker and I were, writing basically smut in high school because we got a grade for writing smut.
That's right.
And so I never read any because it's smut. But when we would do like group circle stuff, Amanda would get put in with one of the groups of all of us. And I just remember her getting put in with Josh and I, and Josh looking at his notebook going, no. But the best part was he still read it. And it was like
great.
he would get to like the smutty scenes and he would be like,
Gonna skip a couple paragraphs here.
and so she was in our class. I don't know if it was a full year. It might have been a full year.
It was a full year. I actually came in a little bit late. It was a little bit later because I moved. That was the year I did move to Maine. So I moved there in the fall. So like in October. And I think it was like the beginning of November when I got put into that class. So I had missed like the very beginning of the year, but was there the rest of the year with you guys.
And the funny part is that like our school is so horrible. We talk so much smack about it, but they didn't. So you came from Connecticut, right?
Yes.
And so we didn't have a way to place a student from another school system. So instead of giving her maybe like an 8th grade English class, they were like, she's advanced enough. We're just going to stick her in the senior level creative writing.
Yeah, I basically got to skip all of 7th grade English, and they were like, just go do senior creative writing. Like this, we don't need to waste your time here.
Yeah.
And so funny.
she was the middle school student that was in my class, but I left high school. I completely burned all those memories. Like screw it. That was a horrible situation. And then I went on to college, and then I wound up going to grad school at Savannah College of Art and Design. And our friend Josh happened to live in Savannah at the time. And so out of the blue, I get this Facebook friend request from Amanda Call. And I'm like, who the hell is that? So I messaged Josh, and he's like, remember the middle school student in our creative writing class? And I was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe, like, it's so
Yeah, because
funny
Josh lived there, and he had we had run into each other a little while previously, and had like gotten lunch together and just chatted and caught up, which was pretty nice.
and so I had to go down to do some thesis research, and while I was down there, I was like, hey, you want to go out and grab a beer? Now, remember, last time I saw her, she was 13. And now it's
Fast
like,
forward, we're meeting back up, and I was like 24, 25, something like
yeah.
that.
And I'm in Savannah, and I'm in shorts and a t-shirt because it's hotter than sin.
It wasn't that.
And in strolls Amanda in jeans and this leather jacket. I'm like, who is
Hot.
this girl?
It wasn't that hot. It was like sometime. It was like what, in the spring or something. It wasn't that hot. It wasn't like August. It wasn't like
No,
how
no,
it
it was
can
still
be in
like a
Savannah.
crisp 90. And the funniest part was we go to this restaurant or whatever. I can't remember now. And she orders a beer, and I'm just looking at her. I'm like, "You're too young for that." Like, someone card her. And that is how we met up again. So, my grad school is your undergrad school.
Undergrad, yep.
And it was just weird that Josh, you and me met up again thanks to Savannah, of all weird places.
Right. Very, very random.
So that is our background story. And
oh my gosh, update. We're already at $408. You guys are amazing.
Holy crap.
Yay.
Yeah, that's squeal worthy. And then to make it even more amusing, just one of my close friends in high school, Amanda, goes off and marries his brother.
Yeah. Well, this is a function of coming from a place where there's only like a few hundred people. that just kind of happens. Yeah, my husband's older brother is one of Jeremy's close friends from high school. So,
and it's small town mentality right there.
Yeah.
So that is where our experience for I Am the First comes in, is that I wasn't born in Maine. I was born actually in North Carolina, where I am now. Weird. And in these small, tight-knit communities, there is a certain amount of, do you belong here?
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember my first year, Jamie Lee Curtis yelling at me. I'm calling you out, Jamie. Yelling at me because she was like, if you like North Carolina so much, you should go back there.
My God. Yeah, the whole the whole first, I don't know, 3 years that I lived in Maine, and everybody kept calling me a flatlander, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Which is only an insult that we understand. So
right, that it's just like, it's such a random thing to say to someone, but it is meant as an insult. Just for reference, if you're not from Maine and you have no idea what we're saying, it's meant as an insult. It is basically an insult that means you aren't from here and you don't belong here.
Which is funny because we grew up in the Valley. So right. And so we were both outsiders, and at least for me, I had the luxury of saying, they'd be like, who the hell are you? And I would say, oh, I'm Gloria Cowing's grandson. And everyone would be like, oh. So, and that's how you introduce yourself where we're from. Like, there's a lineage thing. So I at least got that privilege. You didn't have any family up there.
Mm-mm.
So you were truly one of those people.
One of those people. From Connecticut, no less. Couldn't, only way it could have been worse is if I was from Massachusetts.
That is true. We do hold a special grudge against Massachusetts.
A special grudge against Massachusetts,
which is where I lived for the last 20 years. So I fully understand.
That was your form of rebellion. Fine, I'm going to go live in Massachusetts.
Oh, thank you, Miranda. People are messaging me all over the place, being like, "Hey,
yay! Thank you, everyone. This is exciting."
Up to 437,
and also terrifying. Oh yeah, it just did the thing. The number just changed while I was looking at it.
And so part of I'm the first is everyone has this experience. Like no matter who you are, you don't have to be gay, you don't have to be a person of color, you don't need to be differently abled. Everyone, especially in your teen years, puberty, basically, you have that feeling of being really different, that thing that doesn't connect with the rest of the room. And you always have this feeling that you're the first person to feel this way. And, as adults, we know better. Um, but when you're a teenager and you have that feeling of, oh my God, I'm the first person to deal with this. And especially because, pre-internet generation, it's not
Right.
like I could Google this. um that that is a sensation, and that was one of the things that we really wanted to focus on in the comic. Is, well, the main character Alec suspects he's gay. He's not entirely sure, it's a suspecting thing.
Right.
The story really isn't about him coming to grips with being gay. The superhero aspect is kind of the forefront, and it serves as the allegory for
Right.
what he goes through. And it's awesome because, it's him. His friends are support. His one friend is super supportive, but he doesn't know how to ask for that support, and it he doesn't understand himself well enough, and so everything just creates friction. Um, and so that's been kind of the big back piece for this, because that's still what teenagers experience. This isn't something that's gone away. I think maybe it's gotten a little bit better. I hope.
Oh, a little.
At least
A
the
little.
internet's there.
There is at least the internet now. Yes.
You can port out of your small town,
Yeah,
even
to
if
an
just
extent.
online.
To an extent. Yeah.
And so we really wanted, this was something that we wanted to feature. And I have to say, like, so as part of the Kickstarter, we've been busting some butt, aka Amanda's been busting some butt to get the first issue done.
Done.
And done. It is done. And like I wrote the story, so I know exactly what's going to happen. And as I flip through the pages, like, dagger in my heart through the whole thing.
That's good. I'm glad I appropriately captured the dagger through the heart feeling of it. Well, and then I was like rereading as I was finishing the first chapter, and I was rereading the next, like the rest of it to try to get, because we also needed to estimate what the final page count was going to be.
Yep.
And so I was reading through it to kind of like get an estimate of what the final page count for the whole book would be. And as I was rereading it, because it had been a while since I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much so much of this hurts.
And
Oh.
so I got asked, why superheroes? Well, first, comic books were my thing. They're still my thing. Growing up in a really small town, like all I had was the local grocery store, like what was it called back then? Oh, just BJ's.
Is that what it
And
was? I don't. That was before my time.
oh yeah, became like Railroad Junction or something after that. I don't
Oh,
know.
oh, the one in Junction. Okay, yeah, no, I have no idea.
Oh, hold on, someone's asking for the donation link.
Oh yeah, we need to put the link in the thing.
Oh yeah, like that would.
You're the one with the keys to all of the things, so I'm not.
Let me post the Kickstarter link for anyone who is interested.
Yep.
And so I would go and buy all the comics. It didn't matter what the story was. It was a comic book. So there I was running up my parents' tab and being grounded frequently, which worked out great because I had comics to read while I was grounded.
There is no losing in this situation.
Yeah, they thought I was getting punished. It not so much. And so what was happening was I was reading a lot of X-Men comics because that just happened to be what was there. And I really connected with them because here's a group of people who are different that the world doesn't quite accept, and yet they're still trying to be good people. And sometimes the stories were, very over the top action stories. And then there were some stories that just, oh my God, stab in the heart over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will cite, for any geek who is watching, Uncanny X-Men 303 or 301. It's one of those two. Where Ilyana Rasputin dies of the legacy virus, which is an allegory to HIV/AIDS.
Right.
I bawled, I cried. I'm gonna get choked up, cry now. Um, it was so incredibly moving that this comic, this pictures on a page, was weirdly speaking to me and like accessing emotions that I didn't like. So I got to work out a lot of stuff reading comics. Um, I also learned some really weird shit from reading comics, um, which is why everyone
I,
calls me Remy now, because
right.
I'm a little bit both.
Yep. I just find it funny because X-Men was like the one superhero comic that I was into. Was like the only one that I was into. Even though I always loved comics, like I always knew I loved comics and I wanted to do comics, but the only superhero book I ever got into was X-Men. That was the only one where I was like, I connect to this and I get it and I love it. For
And
the same reasons, mostly. Like
and there were, don't get me wrong, like there's always like the really great writing for me was in the Chris Claremont
yeah.
era, because I just, the soap opera-ness of it I really loved. But like Magneto, like as a kid you were like, oh, he's such a horrible person and I can't wait for the X-Men to take him down. And now as an adult I'm like,
You're like,
I think you might have had a point.
oh, I see what's happening here now.
So I own a lot of t-shirts that say Magneto was right. So
oh no.
but yeah, that was kind of, and I write superhero novels. I write sci-fi superhero novels. I have a pen name that is Smutty Superheroes. And so it only just kind of made sense to work superheroes into this. And while superhero, I don't want to use the phrase superhero like costume vigilante. This is really a kid who just finds out he has this a very minor ability, really.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to come to grips with it. And for him, coming to grips with that is easier than him coming to grips with why he's different.
Right.
And every time I read the first issue, the thing that hits me every single time is that our main character doesn't have a speaking part.
Oh yeah, he doesn't speak like the entire first chapter.
Everyone is talking at him.
Yep.
But he has no agency in his own life. And that plays into the bigger plot, which is, I'll be honest, a little traumatic, but realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like we should also mention like this gets pretty heavy. Like a lot of the story gets very heavy and we don't shy away from things like bullying and homophobia and abuse and just lots of things. It's very serious, heavy stuff. It is not exactly a lighthearted romp. Like it ultimately ends up in a better place than it starts. So there's that, but it's a rough ride along the way.
And that actually, you know what, this actually, I think probably my biggest influence while writing it was one of my students walked up to me and just set a book down on my desk and said, don't ask questions, read it. And I was like, and my students had me read some really weird stuff. I plowed through all of Twilight because a student told me to. Don't know why. But the book was 13 Reasons Why. And I'm not going to get into the Netflix version because I had some issues with it. But the book itself is, it's horribly traumatic in the fact that there is a suicide that starts the plot. And a lot of people were like, well, I don't want my kids reading this. Well, in my tenure of teaching, I've had to deal with multiple suicides. And that is a reality. I mean, it's
Right.
not a pleasant one, but so we made a decision very early on in the process to not shy away from the real world that teenagers deal with.
Right.
Um, I don't think I think we were very conscious and careful in not making it a shock factor element.
Right. Yeah. But it's
Um,
but it's there and it exists and it's like we're not going to pretend like it doesn't. We're not going to present a an unrealistically sanitized version of this story.
and we did make a conscious decision very early on that we wanted it to end on a it gets better note.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
definitely.
so the difficulties that Alec faces in the comic, and it like Amanda said, it gets very heavy. But at the end of it, it was the uplifting message that I needed as a kid,
Mhm.
where there's hope, and that was something that we really wanted to push into the plot line. Um, oh, damn, 5:59.
What? Ah! So another PenQuest alum, Dan Fleming, just backed as well. He was a few years ahead of you, Jeremy. Do you remember Dan Fleming?
I don't.
Yeah, he's not a lot older than you, but like a few years older than you. Like I think about the same age gap that there is between us. He's like that much older than you are.
Because I had
And
my cousin Travis was up there, and
yeah,
I knew a lot of like his friends, but
yeah. So he's another local, another PenQuest grad, and he actually works at the school right now. He
oh
just got hired.
really?
Yeah, he just got hired this year to be the like school like the school community liaison. So he like helps reach out if kids are having trouble in school. He's like the one someone who's going to their home to like see if there's
Oh,
something that
nice.
they might need help with. It's a really awesome role and it's like perfect for him. He's really great. He's a really great
And
member of the community.
one of the things that we really wanted to do, and well, we were setting up the Kickstarter, because there's all these like options of what you can and can't do and whatever. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure was we added a couple tiers that are specifically buy one, get one, or buy one, donate one.
Right.
So people who donate or pick one of those tiers or the add on, because you can get the add on as well,
Yep.
we're going to make sure that the donations go to LGBT youth in the state of Maine.
Yep. And there's a
And
number of different charities that we're like getting lined up with to see like how many books they would want to accept because there's only so many books you can like dump on somebody without like asking them first. So
it's
we're
great that there's
yeah, but there's actually a number of charities that we're working on getting this lined up with that first preference will be getting donation copies to LGBTQ youth in Maine, and then after that we'll like expand out into the rest of New England when we have flooded Maine with enough books.
there's never enough books. There's always a library in need.
This is true. Libraries will probably get quite a few copies too.
Um, the do you want to show the video? Like it's
Oh
short.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
I keep
That's
forgetting that we
that's
have
fun.
stuff.
We do have stuff.
So uh this was really awesome to watch. So I oh, it's all in the video. I don't even need to talk about it. Yeah, let's just watch the video. We'll be
Okay,
back in just a moment.
watch the video.
I should have
Woo!
edited out the coming soon.
Yeah,
Oops,
it's there now, but that's fine.
it's there. So that's actually the very first on the very first page of the comic. Um, the so the we're not going to reveal anything because this is kind of fun, but well, no, fun isn't the right word. It is the interesting aspect of the universe we created here. Um, I heard on an interview, people were like a podcast, they were talking about Batman,
Mhm.
and they were talking about how trauma creates heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at like the foundation of DC heroes, like Superman, his whole planet blew up. Batman, his
It
family
did.
dies. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can go through hero after hero and show how a traumatic experience was their defining moment. And so the aspect of this is, because we knew we were going to be including traumatic events, we wanted the trauma to actually fit into the universe itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a big piece, and that's where Alec's story kicks off, is coming out of a traumatic event. Which I got to admit, I'm a little petrified that, like, the balance of dark and hope, like,
Yeah.
oh, we talked about it incessantly before we made decisions. But yeah, that's one of the things that we decided to stay very true to a teen experience.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because, like, I worked with teenagers. Your husband works with teenagers. You have kids. Like, I always wonder, like, when the kiddos are like 14, is this something that you put in front of them? Like, I
Oh,
still,
yeah. It will be. I mean, the thing is, like, I think it's a mistake to like assume that that kids aren't gonna need to know this kind of stuff, like aren't gonna need to
mm,
be prepared for things happening, and telling stories and reading stories about terrible things happening is part of how you like mentally prepare for them actually happening. So, I mean, you'd be surprised at like the really heavy questions that like 6 and 8-year-olds can come up with anyway. So it's
it's
like,
better you than me.
okay.
At,
We need
at
to be
least with
prepared for
teenagers,
stuff.
I was able to say, like, okay, here's the reality. Like, you're old enough to deal with it. You're mature enough to deal with it. So
Right.
I'm not going to hold back. Um,
Oh my god, the number's at 788 now.
I
Ah,
know
ah, 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 ah.
first
I need
out of,
my fainting couch. I don't
and
have
we
room to
have
faint back here.
23 minutes. I wonder if we can hit the 1/3 mark.
I don't. Oh, in the first hour? I don't know.
I don't
That's a lot
know.
of pressure.
I feel like someone do a song and dance. You don't want to watch me dance.
Is that what
So
we're doing right now? We're just kind of doing like the writer artist version of song and dance. You don't want to see us try to physically move around. We're not good at it, but we can
no.
talk to you.
This is why we hide behind computers.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about, let me actually do, because we were prepared for once.
Can I talk a little bit about?
Talk about some of the art.
Okay. I could talk about
So
art all day long, so might want to narrow that down.
here is, let me,
Oh, it's all cropped funny. Dang it, StreamYard. StreamYard, what are you doing?
can we?
It's not. It's just gonna shudder at you. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
I like how my file name is still there. It's still no, go ahead and show them. It's great. I love this. It still says page 1, maybe, because I did many different versions of how I was going to color it before I settled on what I wanted it to look like. So
I
there's
love
like half a dozen different files that are page 1, like page 1 test, page 1 test 3, page 1 I don't know if I like this.
it is such a it is such like the writer's life of page 1, story underscore final, story underscore final, like story underscore final, the editor said this final, like, and then I can never remember which one I'm supposed to be working on, and I freak out.
Yeah. Yeah, so page 1 maybe was at least memorable and ultimately ended up, yeah, being page 1, yes. Page 1, yes. I just never changed the file name for some reason. Um, yeah, so I don't know what exactly did you wanna know about it. It's the opening scene, this is the very first page.
I am curious.
This is it.
So, digital painting is something
Oh,
newer for
okay.
you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done a fair amount of comics coloring, like digital coloring for different freelance projects, especially a lot of the work that I do with Skirmisher for like a lot of their digital publications. When they want it in color, they want it digitally colored because digital colors look really nice on a screen. That's what they're good at. Um, but it's also like if you're gonna color a comic, doing it in traditional media is very, very difficult. And so I was like, no, we're going to do this digitally. That's usually the standard for coloring comics these days. And you can get it to go pretty quickly, but not like, it's still like a ton of work. Like, even once you get it to go pretty quickly, it's still a ton of work. So I did ink this differently than I would have inked any of my black and white comics because I knew it was going to be colored. And then Jeremy's been doing the flats for me, which helps speed they so when we started working on art and I was like, okay, just to warn you, this is going to take me a long time because there's a lot to do. Like I have to draw it, I have to ink it, I have to color it. It's all going to take a long time. And he's like, what can I do to help? And I was like, oh, you can do flats. And he was like, okay, yeah, I'll do flats. And I'm like, my evil plan has worked. I convinced him to do flats for me.
And now I understand why you laughed so hard.
Because doing flats sucks. That's the part where you basically just go like, hey, his pants are gonna be blue, and I'm gonna color them in blue so that they're not the same color as the grass, which is green. Like it's just putting in the flat, basic areas of color, and it's incredibly time consuming. Like it's not difficult, it's just time consuming. And so that helped speed the process up on my end considerably, that Jeremy took most of the load off on that. And then I would get them back and I'd correct all the colors because when you flat, you're not using the final colors, you're just grabbing some colors with like high contrast and high difference so that they're easy to grab separately to adjust to what the local color is actually going to be.
I'm going to pause you for just a moment because we just hit $1,142.
What? Oh my god. Ah.
So
Ah! Oh my god, you
we
guys are
just
so
surpassed the
amazing.
1/3. So I do want to hear more about this. What I
Thank you
also
so
want to do,
much.
I want to run through really quick and say thank you to uh, Jen, Susan, Andrew, uh, Jay. I don't want to use people's last names. That's weird.
No, that's fine.
Jack, Sophia, Dan, Dawn, Miranda, Chris, and Quarterstaff Games. Thank you so much. We had talked about wanting to hit 1/3 in the first hour, and we were like, that's kind of ambitious, but dude, we just crossed 1/3.
Ah! That's amazing. You all are so amazing. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness.
Um,
Woo!
so yeah, you did the live stream, which I'll put in the comments in just a second for
Yeah,
your.
I did a live stream on my YouTube channel last week where I was working on coloring, and then also this Sunday I uploaded a video that was like a pre-recorded and edited one of some of the like tricks that I used to make some of the like background elements, especially on this comic, go a lot faster. So like stuff like you reusing background assets and like reusing textures and using tools in Photoshop to apply textures to different things and make them look more realistic without killing myself over it. So I've done a couple of videos that kind of give you like a behind the scenes peek at it, which is really, if you're into comics process, is pretty fun to watch.
And if you are into comics whatsoever, her live stream is awesome because it's a mix of watching working artists do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And also I really just loved that people were asking questions, and
Yeah.
it's educational. Like I didn't know that's how this stuff happened.
Yeah, I like doing them because I mean, partially it's just fun to get to chat with people while I'm working, and also it's like, I paid a ridiculous amount of money for my art education, and not everybody can do that. And so if I can help to like demystify art making and answer people's questions and help them get some of that education, I will gladly redistribute my very expensive education for free.
Yeah, seriously, for how much we paid for that
Oh
degree,
god.
oh, oh, I will tell you everything class by
Everything.
class.
Everything you want to know.
I will say, for as much smack as I talk about SCAD, it was a really good school, and I
It
did
was
learn a
no,
crap
it
ton.
it was great, and I definitely think it was worthwhile, but I also think that it's really, like, too bad that it's so cost prohibitive. Like, that it, like, screwed up my life having to pay all of that back. Like, that ended up being a very serious burden, so if I can help somebody else learn something and not have to do that, then that's great.
Um, Ben, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate it. Ben is the one
Um,
who was Quarterstaff Games. I think that's his
oh,
store account. It's the account for the store that he works at.
thanks, quarterstaff. Also, just great name for anything.
It's a great, yeah. Their game store is really cool. It's in Burlington, Vermont. If anyone like, it's a really nice game store, and it's like in a historic building, and like they have a big fancy like wooden bar type counter, and it's really nice. I love going and visiting there. I haven't been in quite some time, unfortunately, but it's a really nice place, and everybody who works there is really cool too.
Um, do you want me to show page 2?
Um, sure, we can show page 2, but then we don't want to give everything away.
Yeah, we don't want to give any more away.
We don't want to give the whole thing away.
So for me personally, page 2 is the page that kind of sets the tone for the whole comic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this will give you, and it squeeze this in there.
Squeeze it, squeeze it. There we go.
And this is something that, again, we very much didn't want to show. We did not want to be shocking for the sake of shock. That was a very, very deliberate thing, because weirdly enough, that's one of my issues with the 13 Reasons Why for Netflix was like they just stuck to the source material and it would have been, I mean, super emotional. And then they were like, but let's dial it up even more, and unnecessary.
Yeah, no, there's sometimes less is more. You don't need to just go more.
But those 2 pages wind up being the opening spread for I Am the First. I think I have to think of the page layout. First 2 pages, we'll just go with that. And so by the end of this page, you kind of see what we're willing to tackle.
Right.
And weirdly for me personally, this wasn't the kick in the chest as it was the scene between him and his friend.
Yeah.
Which is a weirdly uplifting scene that gets misconstrued. So, yeah, feels. So many feels.
Lots of feels in this.
Is this your first? This is your first colored comic, right?
Yes. Like, yeah.
Okay.
The first one that I've actually tried to do the whole thing in color.
So
because I've done Age of Night for like ages now, for years and years and years now, and I've got like I think I've got like around 700 pages of it at this point, over 700 pages probably, and it's all black and white. Like it's all a black and white comic.
So tell us a little bit about Age of Night, because I come into
Oh,
this
hey,
as a
look,
author.
that's my website. There's my webcomic. Yeah, so Age of Night is a very different project, obviously. Like that's my webcomic. It's an epic fantasy story, and it's like people on a quest, and there's like magic and stuff. And look, the cat's talking. He's the main character. Very different tone. I mean, Age of Night gets pretty serious sometimes too. But it's very much like a high fantasy adventure. Well, I guess not really high fantasy, but a fantasy adventure, like low fantasy adventure series. And it's a weekly webcomic. So I also have just been uploading like one page black and white artwork a week. And that's like a very leisurely pace to make comics at realistically. I mean, obviously I'm doing lots of other stuff at the same time. Whereas like a full color graphic novel that needs to be done in like a year is a very different pace and a very different scope of project. Because the other thing too is that like Age of Night is already like 25 chapters long, and I Am the First is going to be 5. It's 5.
Which I feel like work wise, I Am the First is a time suck.
Yes, and that's partial. There's a lot of different reasons for that, and part of that is just the fact that it's in color, so that doubles your whole process time because you have to draw it and you have to ink it, and then you have to go back over everything again and color it and add in lettering and all of that stuff. Um, so being in color makes it take a lot more time, but it's also just because like I've been drawing Age of Night for so long that I can draw these characters like with my eyes closed. I'm so familiar with them that it takes me no time at all. And most of the time it's like this. They're like outside wandering from place to place.
Though
They're
every time I see some of your backgrounds, like the dots on the rocks,
little dots on the
or
rocks. Yeah.
bricks in a castle,
Yeah.
or grass.
Yeah. Yeah, this has like a lot of the heavy pen and ink texturing, which I Am the First does not, because there's no sense doing that when you're going to color it. But you're just wasting your time. The colors are going to totally override it. So just do all of that work in color, like add texture when you get to the color stage. Um, so like with I Am the First, it's like, okay, I am getting used to these characters. Like I don't know them as intimately yet. So they take a lot longer to draw because I'm kind of like figuring out how their faces work and like what their expressions look like from different angles. And also I'm drawing like interiors and real stuff all the time. So like the scenes that take place like in a classroom and I'm drawing like rows of desks and I'm like, I hate everything. And then one scene takes place in a library and I was like, if any other scene takes place in a library in this entire comic, I quit.
Can I just tell you, like, I've been doing the flats, and I it, I mean, it's a flat. Like, how hard could it possibly be? I think on average, the flats are taking me 3 to 5 hours per page.
Yeah.
On the more complicated ones, some of the easier ones are like
Some of
one
the
to
easy
two
ones,
hours.
yeah, don't take long at all. And like
But
really not to like knock your skills or anything, but really experienced flatters can get through them a lot faster than that. Like people who their job, like what they do for a living is flatting comics, they can blow through pages a lot faster than that, but it's still time consuming. Like, it's still
and
gonna be time consuming.
and I walked into this like I have 2 degrees in graphic design. Like I'm a Photoshop guru, and this is not how you use Photoshop. Like,
No, and I
why?
and I will say that like a lot of people use other programs, but I've used Photoshop, like use other programs like Clip Studio Paint or Procreate or whatever else to do their coloring. But I've just used Photoshop for so long for a number of different things that it's like I'm stuck with this thing. I'm stuck with this program. This is
And
what I know how to use.
it it is a skill set that is not anything related to, like, I've done digital photography, I've done digital painting. I Comics are not any of that. There's a very specific approach that I never learned it in school, so I feel I might have needed to take an extra class here and there.
I drank all my tea. It's all gone. Okay.
There's always more.
But, yeah, I'll probably go and make a coffee when we're done doing this. Which, like, how did we want to be on for like an hour? Or we're getting pretty close to that.
Yeah, I wanted to babble until we hit the 1/3, and well,
We
that
did.
happened.
We did that. Ah!
But now we're $57 away from half our funding.
Oh my god. Ah!
So I did not expect. So a lot of this idea came from, and I'm going to give complete and utter credit for this one. Amanda's done a bunch of Kickstarters. This is my third Kickstarter that I've worked on. But the last Kickstarter like that I hovered over was when Chris Philbrook did his Kickstarter for the Diary of Diggory Finch. And, you know, Chris has got like this massive following, like people love his books. And he funded his goal in, I think, 6 minutes.
Oh wow. That's impressive.
And just it was amazing because I knew he had like these super dedicated fans, these people who really believed in what he's doing. And then people will say that they support you, but when you see a dollar amount attached to their support, like suddenly like, oh wow, like it has value, and like it's super gracious and nerve-wracking, and yeah, there's a lot of feels that happen really quickly.
Yeah. Although, if you've ever run a Kickstarter, then you'll if anyone has ever been involved in running a Kickstarter or being just attached to a project that has gone through Kickstarter, you'll appreciate this one. One of my friends just backed and then asked me, "So when do I get to start leaving unhelpful comments?"
I just remember on my last Kickstarter, like people would like we were very clear that it was for an anthology book that we were working on, and there were 13 authors and 17 people attached to the project. And within minutes of the Kickstarter getting funded, people were like, is it done yet? When am I going to get it? It's not in my email. And I'm like, whoa, like,
whoa.
We're
None of
still
that
on the
was
live
what it
stream.
said here.
Okay,
So yeah,
I want
to remind people, this is being delivered next year.
Yeah, and we've set the date for October.
Yes, like a year from now, because comics take a long time.
We thought we would have this done and in the bag. Like, we're only a month behind our production
what
schedule.
what our original schedule was, and part of that was because you like moved in the middle of that, like sold your house and most of your belongings and packed up and moved like down the entire East Coast. Why did that slow us down? I don't know.
I don't know why. I honestly thought like, oh, I'm driving in a car. Of course I can color flats.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can work on comics when all my stuff is in a box. Right?
Yeah,
your computer's in the back of a truck somewhere. Yeah, that's fine.
And I'm currently living in a place we affectionately refer to as Murder House, because as you can see,
I like the knight behind you, the suit of armor over your shoulder there.
Yeah, in my lounge.
Why not?
So I want to say thanks to our backers, because the number keeps growing and this is crazy.
You guys are so amazing. Thank you so much, everyone who has donated so far. This is incredible, and we're very excited to share this with you.
So thank you, Penny, Brenda, the Creative Fund by Backer Kit. I always find it funny that they always donate $1.
Right. Thanks, Backer Kit.
They are a great service.
It's true.
Skirmisher Publishing, Sherry, Jen, Susan, Andrew, Jay, Jack, Sophia, Dan, Dawn, Miranda, Chris, and Quarterstaff Games, aka Benjamin. Thank you guys so much. Like, this has been kind of
So Completely
Oh,
wild.
we are $27 away
From halfway.
from halfway in 1 hour. So, and technically, we didn't start on the hour, so
We
there's
didn't
still a few
actually.
minutes.
Because we couldn't find the button.
It wasn't where it should have been. Why was it not in the project?
I don't know.
Like Kickstarter, like you should have known people don't check
They
these
like to.
things.
It's Kickstarter. Their whole existence is to make you sweat.
Oh my
That's.
God, it is so true. So yeah, if we will shut up if we can get another $27. Like I feel like we're gonna start a phone-a-thon.
Are we ever going to shut up? Are you and I ever actually going to shut up? Is that a thing that's going to happen? Oh, I will also mention that this Thursday we're going to be on Story Comic Presents, which
Mm.
is a web show slash podcast. So it gets filmed and broadcast live initially as a web show, and then later on, Barney takes it down and edits it to a little bit tighter format, and then releases it as a podcast. So we'll be sure to share the link to that. Barney's always really great at interviewing. So I'm sure it'll be a good time. And then you'll get to
Is
hear probably
the
a lot of the same stuff that we said here, but maybe some other stuff. He comes up with some pretty good questions. So
is there a link already for the live cast?
I believe there is. Let me pull that up real quick.
Because God knows I'm not gonna have it.
No, I know he sent it to me. I gotta find it because I am not organized. There it is.
And for those who are coming to check this out that are in the hype group, I just want to say thank you so much.
I sent it to you and you can post it to the things.
Okay. Thank you so much for being part of the hype group, because that has been just awesome, being able to share ideas, get excited about it. Like really, originally we made it so we could hype up other people to help us out, and really what it turned into was a guilt trip that made us work.
There was also that. It's very helpful to have a group of people waiting for updates. It keeps you pretty accountable.
And it was always great because I would post a graphic and be like, here is something that I want to share with you before the Kickstarter goes live. And never once was someone like, oh, that's awesome, because they're authors and comic artists. The first thing would be, you spelled this wrong.
Thanks, guys. Good catch.
Special shout out to John Evans on this one. I did not know that the saying is, I take guff from no one.
Oh, what did you
I've
think it
always
was?
said, I take no gruff from anyone.
Oh, that's so funny. That's
and
so funny.
He was like, I don't know how it is in the US, but in the UK we say guff.
No, it is guff. That was totally a you thing.
That is my life in a nutshell. Like, how badly can I butcher the English language? So it took someone from the UK to point out I have piss poor English.
That tracks.
I mean, that is quite accurate. Oh, look at that. 1502.
Ha! We did it. We're halfway there, and it's been an hour. Oh my goodness. Oh.
So thank you, Andrea. Ooh, that's Nyx. I play a little game on my phone, and one of my guild mates. I recognize how you spell your name, Nyx.
I love it.
And thank you, PK, for donating. I promised that we would shut up at this point. Like, do we honor that? Like,
we should probably honor that. We should probably establish that we can keep to our word when people are paying us money to produce a project in a certain amount of time. Maybe.
So yeah, that's 50% funded in an hour. So
you are all so incredible.
So yeah, thank you everyone who came in. Just greatly appreciate it. Like, I'm glad other people are excited about the things we're excited about. Like, this is geek love at its best. So I think that's farewell.
Yeah, for now.
Yep.
But obviously keep watching like the campaign will have updates, and keep watching all of the social media pages for myself and Jeremy, because we'll have updates there, and we'll let you know if we do any other appearances or anything, or plan to go live again.
And I have to say a special thanks again because Nix is sending me messages being like, yay, called out by name.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, thank you very much, everyone who joined us. And don't worry, this is not the end you're going to hear from us, because
Oh no, not at all.
it just doesn't work that way. All right. Till next time, take care.
Thank you. Bye.